ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the Packernet podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. So yesterday's big revelation, for me anyways, was the offensive line is why we lost. That and, the penalties. But keeping it as broad as possible, we lost because of the offensive line. Today's revelation is similar, but a little bit more nuanced. And there's two different ways you can say this. It doesn't really matter, so I'll just pick one. I'll go with the less abrasive for now, and then we'll hammer the frickin' point in a minute here. We lost because we were on the road. And I'm not just saying, well, because, the 3 points because of the road thing or whatever. It has nothing to do with it. Let me zoom in a little bit more. We lost because we were on the road, and the noise made us use a silent count. Now, I saw some people talking about that they were pumping in crowd noise and all that, which wouldn't surprise me. I think the Browns knew that they needed us in a silent count, and I wouldn't be surprised. But that's not really here nor there, here or there. It's not anywhere, okay? Because stadiums are loud. Opposing stadiums are loud, and you have to be able to use a silent count. I just want to play something for you real quick. Now, it's a video, and so it's not going to be as good to hear it as far as the audio, but I want you to listen to it, especially at the end, because it's going to be important.
Okay, the guy's in a 2-eye, but if you watch football, you can see that stance in the 2-eye. He's definitely crossing face, but Jenkins has no damn idea because we don't pick our head up, then snap it. We do it simultaneously. Then he's off. Ryan gets picked. Obviously got problems over with Banks and Rasheed Walker with communication to that overhang player. But, second play of the game, and it's this is a sign of things to come, obviously. And it all starts with, or it probably happens specifically because the snap counter, the way we're handling the silent count, and teams do this all over the league, man, but it don't make any sense.
So if I didn't say it, that was Mike Wall, by the way, former Green Bay Packer. To clarify what he's talking about, first of all, let's zoom all the way out for those that aren't aware. Normally, when you watch football, you'll hear quarterbacks yell out, blue 80, green 74 to 120, right? When a stadium is really loud, though, not everybody can hear you. And so instead of having a verbal cue for the center to know when to snap the ball and for the rest of the offensive line to hear it because the offensive linemen are not staring at the ball, they have a signal that they communicate to each other silently. That's why it's called a silent count. Now, obviously, when you have the verbal one, it's coded, right? There's a code to let you know what we're going to do. And generally, this is where the snap count comes in, which is on 1, on 2, on 3. In other words, I'm going to say it 1 time, 2 times, or 3 times, whatever the thing is. The reason we're doing that is because we don't want the defensive line to know when we're going to snap the ball, because then they'll be able to get a jump on us. You have to do that with the silent count as well. You see this all around the league. A lot of times what'll happen is you've got a guy, the guard, that'll slap the center's knee. He doesn't snap it immediately. That would be stupid because then they would know as soon as you see that guy reach out and slap the leg, you can go because the ball's about to be snapped. So you can time it to beat the center essentially off the snap or the guard or the tackle or whatever. You just have to watch for that. So sometimes they'll tap him once and then they'll kind of look between their legs and then they'll tap him a second time and then they'll wait a second and then they'll snap it. It's all different stuff like that. You got to mix it up just so that the defensive line says, okay, we're not even going to try to time it. We're just going to wait till the ball moves and then we're going to go. What Mike Wall is saying is that essentially the way that this works is Elgton Jenkins looks between his legs. Jordan Love lifts his leg and put it back down. That's the signal, I'm ready. And what we do is simultaneously, the center will lift his head and snap the ball at the same time. That's the whole thing. That's what we do. That's what we do the first time, the second time, the third time, the 9th time, and the 12th time. And so yesterday, I'm sure you could hear me say, I don't understand. I even went down the conspiracy theory lane of did the entire offensive line go out and get hammered last night? Because it doesn't make sense. It's also why it's stupid to say, oh, we have a bad offensive line. We don't. We don't, though. The fact that this was the worst game that each one of these guys has had independently should tell you something. And it's not that they're bad, because if they were bad all the time, then this would be a normal performance, and it's not a normal performance. Right? Are we tracking here? Are you following with me? It's abnormal because it's a good offensive line, which is why it doesn't make any sense. And it's one thing if a guy has a bad day. It's another, even if two guys have a bad day. But to have not just 5, but 6 starting offensive linemen have not just bad, but putrid performance makes no sense. Something is going on, and I don't know what it is. And I think we figured out what it is. The Browns timed our snap count, and they knew when to go. This is shockingly unacceptable. The fact that we lost a game because our coaching staff is too entirely incompetent to recognize a very basic thing that you should be doing in regard to silent counts, the thing that everybody else does, so that you can't time our snaps and beat us off the ball. The fact that they were doing it all game and you never figured it out and tried to make a change during the game, because apparently you just didn't figure it out. You just kept thinking that we were just losing all the damn time. But it's significantly worse than that. Here's another video. It's from Kurt Benkert. Listen to this one.
All right, let's talk about the number one thing that, in my opinion, cost the Packers this game more than anything else. More than, we can talk about the refs, we can talk about the scheme, we can talk about fumbles, whatever. This one thing. They take forever to get play calls in. They take forever to get the right guys in. And they take forever to get the play operating on third down. Now, with that, you have one guy that is crowding the out of the ball. Is that neutral zone infraction? I don't know. I'm not a ref. He's further ahead of anybody else on the defense, and he was there all night long. You can watch the film. They're not going to call it. I don't think they should, because he's not technically on the ball. I mean, he's about as close as possible, and he's leaned back. Now, why is this a problem? Well, the Packers are running silent count because they are in Detroit Stadium. This is third down, and the crowd is really loud. Now, the Packers have multiple different silent counts. They have silent 1, silent 2, silent dummy. They have silent Ricky, silent Lucy. And all of those things change how this guy operates. And it makes these guys not able to get a beat on it and just tee off. Now, when you have a center that is looking through his legs to snap it, instead of some teams that have a guard that's going to tap, that means that the center has his eyes no longer on what's happening up front, because he needs to time it up with the motion that has a specific landmark and all this and that, and also they're low in the play clock. So stay with me. This guy right here knows that the clock is ticking. Play clock 3, play clock 2, play clock 1, snap it. Look at how fast his get off is. And he's already crowding the ball. I mean, it does not get any better time than that. Now, because he knows that the play clock is now at 1 or 0, as soon as he throws his head up at all or moves his back or anything, he knows the ball is being snapped because he knows their snap count. He knows their silent snap count on the leg with motion, critical situation. He knows the play clock. He knows that this is on 1. The Packers can't go on 2. They can't go on dummy because they're waiting to the last minute with the play call that's taking a long time, getting guys set up, the shifts, the motions, all that. They cannot run a dummy cadence out of silent on 3rd and 5. And he knows that because he watches film and he's studied up and he gets it. Look at his get off. Every single time. That happened all night long. If you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about. Good luck being Josh Myers. Good luck being you trying to block somebody that's already in your shit. And not to mention, like I said, most teams in the league, they'll have the guard tap and the center will be up and ready. That's a hard spot to go into. Look at how close this is. I mean, the ball is not even past his just barely, and he's already across the line of scrimmage. Jordan Love doesn't even have the ball till now, and he is already a yard deep in the backfield splitting guys. That gives the Packers no chance at all. And yeah, did they miss this illegal hands to the face, roughing the passer? Hell yeah, they did. I don't know what the he's looking at. However, this shit shouldn't even come to this point because they need to change how they do silent cadence, all because of this. And it starts with maybe getting a play call in sooner, maybe calling a more simple play call because you're on the road, maybe changing your snap count to be a different silent snap count that everybody else uses. Because when you have all those things against you and the quarterback is forced to go silent quick count, well, good God, is this guy just going to tee off and create problems?
Okay. As you could probably figure out, based on what he was saying in the video, this wasn't week 1 against the Lions. This was in Detroit. This was last year. This was identified as a problem. Again, he's saying, it's not like they just have the one thing. They've got some other things. But it doesn't matter if you can't get the call in fast enough. And so it's a combination of the pace of your offense and the way that you do snap counts that are allowing them to tee off. You might remember, I specifically remember, maybe you listened to that podcast. The thing that was the most egregious about this game is that they were a very injured team. And I specifically said this is maybe the worst defensive line in football. They're terrible. They haven't done anything. They can't do anything. And they dominated our offensive line all day. And it's because of this. It's not a talent issue. It's simple film study. Here's how we can manipulate them so that they can't win. And they did it, and they did it all night. Now, well, let's do this real quick before we move on. It was also this from Jacob Morley. This was December 30th of last year. He says, pressured allowed versus Minnesota. Rasheed Walker, 4. Josh Myers, 4. Sean Ryan, 1. Zach Tom, 3. And then there was a comment from Mike saying Packers need to switch up their silent count. Defenses have timed it up. The bottom line is this was a talking point all year. This was a talking point all year. In our first frickin' road game, this comes back to bite us. We lost the game because this issue reemerges again. We should be 3-0. Now, the positive news here is I firmly believe that if this was in Green Bay, we dominate the living crap out of Cleveland. We're 3-0 the whole thing. I also feel relatively comfortable that this will not take place again, at least not to this extent. Again, this was the most terrible performance from an offensive line I've seen from the Green Bay Packers since I've been doing this podcast. And so the good news is there's every reason to believe that if we get this tweaked, as well as getting healthy and all that, because obviously that does still play a part in this. It's not that this was actually 100% of the problems. There were other problems. But we win this game walking away easy without these issues. I mean, we're getting on our first-round pick Jordan Morgan for holding all the time. Yeah, I'd be holding too if people just jumping right past me all the time. You hold or your quarterback gets killed. Packers are being mocked right now because of a video of, I think, Rasheed Walker getting beat by Myles Garrett and screaming, "Jordan, run." Because it was so bad, we had offensive linemen just screaming, "Run." We can't be losing football games because of stupid stuff like this, because we can't self-scout, because we can't figure this stuff out, getting manipulated like this. But figure it out, boys. All right, figure it out, because if this happens in Dallas, it's going to be a problem. Because again, remember, well, they don't have Myles Garrett. It wasn't just Myles Garrett doing it to us. Myles Garrett had 4 pressures and a sack. So did Mason Graham, who, by the way, let's see, coming into this game, what did we say about Mason Graham? He had 2 pressures all year, 0 sacks. 2 pressures, 0 sacks. He had like a 5% pressure rate. He had 4 pressures and a sack in this game on 27 attempts. So he suddenly just jumps up to having a 20% pressure rate in his first sack of the season. That's weird. Malik Collins had 4 pressures and 2 sacks. Carson Schweschinger came into this game with 1 pressure and no sacks. He had 2 pressures and a sack in this game. Alex Wright came into this game with 0 pressures on the season. In 14 attempts, he had 2 pressures and a sack. That's weird, isn't it? Aiden Huntington, 2025 undrafted free agent, had his first sack of the season. So weird. I promise you, if this is not fixed, Dallas will do the same thing to us. Take a break. We'll be right back. Now, on the video of Mike Wall talking about the snap count issues, the first time that I had actually seen it, that was quote tweeted by somebody else saying, "I'll do you one better," and said that every time Jordan Love canned the play. Again, just for those that are not familiar with what that means, essentially, when you get into the huddle, they'll call 2 plays. They'll go to the line, run the first play. If the quarterback doesn't like it, they'll go to the second play. And the way that he'll switch it is he'll yell can. In other words, scrap the first play, go to the second play. Now, it doesn't really matter theoretically that it's so obvious that they're yelling can and going to the other play because, again, theoretically, you don't know what that other play is. So it doesn't really matter. Someone, and I had lost the tweet, so I apologize, had pointed out that every single time he yelled can, it was a run play. And at first I kind of dismissed it as being not that big of a deal because it's probably a coincidence. I think he said it was like 7 times or something, which is kind of a lot. Now, the odds of, again, flipping a coin 7 times coming up heads, it's not impossible, but it's pretty unlikely. But it dawned on me that it's not impossible that there's a reason for that outside of just random chance. Now, I don't know what that reason is, but just to kind of come up with a few, let's say that generally speaking, for whatever reason, Jordan doesn't can to the pass plays. Now, it might be that 1 play is a run play, 1 is a pass play. It might be that there's 2 pass plays or 2 run plays called. But for whatever reason, Jordan doesn't can to the pass plays. Maybe it has to do with his not trusting his ability to read things or want to change things or whatever the case may be. I think that the easiest way to view it is as the quarterback, he's the guy that throws the ball, right? So if there's a pass play and a run play called, he'll walk up to the line and he'll be able to maybe more easily identify, this is not a good situation for me to pass into. Can. I'm going to hand it off to the running back, let him figure it out. I think it was Basara, posted a video saying, yeah, the run blocking was terrible, but why are we running into an 8-man box? Why wouldn't you change the play out of there? It's not impossible that for whatever reason, he doesn't feel comfortable getting out of the run plays. And so it's also not impossible, and you'd have to do more research on this and go back and look further, that another tell is that when Jordan says can, even if it's not 100% of the time, it doesn't really matter. When Jordan says can, a very high percentage chance they're going to be running the ball. And again, I'm not saying that those are the exact things. I'm saying that it's possible that there are reasons, there are things happening that cause the can to be a run play most of the time. And it doesn't matter if we know the reason, just the fact that it's happening. Because as I've said before, calling plays is kind of like rock, paper, scissors. The only difference is it's possible to throw scissors, somebody else throws rock, and the scissors beats rock just because of sheer will. But knowing that when Jordan yells can, let's say there's an 80% chance that they're going to run the ball, is kind of like a defensive coordinator knowing that there's an 80% chance that you're going to throw rock. So what are you going to do? Every time they yell can, what are you going to do? You're going to throw paper. And you might get it wrong sometimes, but it's just a tell. It's just a tell that more often than not, we're going to win if we do this. And so that's something that they need to go back and look at also. If that is happening, if there are these tells, they have to go back and dispel that. Either by getting Jordan to, start canning to something else or have, just pass plays that you can to, or just do dummy cans. However you want to do it, it doesn't really matter. You can have 2 different ways that you say can, that one is real, one is fake. And you can even give them a heads up, we're going to do a fake can here. There's still a way to really can the play if we need to, but pay attention because I'm going to be doing the dummy can. Maybe how many times you say can, or how fast you say can, or whatever. You just need them to hesitate to get to the point where they're saying, you know what, never mind. But these are things that the Packers need to pick up on there, and I don't know who's responsible for what. Presumably, the offensive line coach specifically is responsible for all the silent count and how all that stuff works out. But they need to be doing self-scouting so that they can identify these things that other teams are also going to identify and manipulate other teams. I mean, if you can come out against Dallas having identified this issue, and let's say you want to take a shot, like we're going to take a shot right here down the field. It's 2nd and 1. What do? You yell can. Just to further solidify we're running here. This is a run play. We're running 2nd and 1. Can. Get them to commit even more. Oh, he said can. They're going to run. Load up and take that shot. You might be able to only get away with it once, but do it that one time. Steal one, and then they're not going to do that crap anymore. Next time you're going to say, hey, can. They're like, oh, yeah, I believe it. Oh, good. That was my intention, is for you to just be like, you know what? I don't believe it anymore. Not falling for that again. Good. I don't want you to fall for it. And look, I'm sure that these things do happen. This is probably in part why there are massive upsets from time to time. Just got a good read on a certain tell, or you properly identified what you think the game plan is going to be and how they're going to do it and how you're going to counter. You just freaking nailed it. Okay, fine. They stole one from us, but we got to get this figured out. We got to get it fixed. And this is where the coaching comes in. This is where, okay, Matt, this was bad. For a lot of reasons, this was bad. But it's very obvious how you get everybody back on your side and prove that you are capable of handling this situation is identify those areas where you got taken advantage of, identify the leaks in the boat, and seal them. Because eventually the ship is going to sink. Get those frickin' things sealed up. And Dallas should be another slaughter. Because at the end of the day, again, this is the good news here. As much as I'm very upset to have to say the things that I'm saying, the good news here is that assuming everything I'm saying is true, let's just assume it is correct, whatever. The good news is we didn't lose because we're frauds, that they're actually better than us and we're not that good and all that crap. We lost on the back of another elite defensive performance because the Browns identified some kind of a frickin' trick. They spammed that trick over and over again and barely were able to scrape out a win against us as a result. All right, let's take our final break. We'll be right back. I want to go through a couple different statistics here. Some of them are just kind of hammering home the offensive line point, but I found them interesting. So, Nathan Marzan says the Packers as a team had a 15.5 PFF pass blocking grade on Sunday, the lowest for any team in any game since 2021. Since PFF started collecting data in 2006, the Packers had previously never had a game with a pass blocking grade lower than a 39, a historically bad performance. Felipe says, per PFF, the Packers entered Week 3 with a top 10 offensive line in pass blocking efficiency. They're now ranked 30th, ahead of only Tennessee and Cleveland. To be fair, a historically bad performance will drop you about 20 spots. But that is the entire point. How bad do you have to be to go from a top 10 team to the 30th ranked team? Another stat that highlights another major problem is penalties. An article by Bill Huber starts off with a quote from Matt LaFleur. Says, yeah, I've seen it, LaFleur said on Monday, a day after a shocking 13-10 defeat. It's been happening more than we'd like. You see it in practice. It's hard not to expect it in a game. We have got to dial in better. We have to have better focus and concentration. Goes on to say Sunday's game was the 103rd of LaFleur's career. His team has been flagged more than 10 times in just 3 games, with the previous worst being 12 penalties against the Lions in 2020. How many did we have in this game? 14. There were so many false starts, LaFleur couldn't remember them all. Number 5 was by receiver Malik Heath, which helped knock a promising possession out of field goal range in the second quarter. It's early in the season, but no team has been penalized more than Green Bay was against Cleveland. That came on the heels of 10 accepted penalties against Washington in Week 2. 14 penalties versus Cleveland were the most of for the Packers since they were guilty of a franchise record 18 in a loss to Chicago. That was also in 2020. I don't know why he said the previous worst was 12 in 2020 against the Lions, but whatever. From 2019 to 2024, the first 6 seasons of the LaFleur era, the Packers were guilty of the 6th fewest penalties according to StatHead, and that's one of those important contextual points because the immediate thing everybody wants to jump to is this is proof that Matt LaFleur sucks, and that's why we have so many penalties. Well, then why did we have so few through almost all of Matt LaFleur's tenure? I don't know, but it sounds like you might need to come up with a new theory. Another stat by NFL Talk, the Green Bay Packers are the only team in the NFL to not trail a second through the first 3 weeks. Green Bay is 2-1. It's one of those kind of eye roll stats, which we've had that before. I remember, I don't remember if it was for the season or for the Lions or what, but we had however many losses we had, they were all like last second field goals. There is a positive side of this though, in that that's a pretty impressive stat. Even though they lost one of the games, the fact that they are the only team in the NFL to have not trailed for a single second in a game is impressive. Final fun stat, and it is a good one. Jacob Morley says the Packers are the only team in the NFL that have 4 pass rushers with double-digit pressures. Parsons, Wyatt, Gary, and Van Ness. Parsons with 15, Wyatt with 13, Gary with 13, and Van Ness with 11. Final bit of news I wanted to talk about today. The Green Bay Packers have officially elevated Brent Banks to the 53-man roster. You might remember him. He had a fantastic offseason, so much so that I decided to deliberately sabotage my own 53-man roster prediction by saying he's going to make the 53. Don't really expect too much to come from this. At least we all hope that nothing comes from this, because this is specifically a depth piece, obviously. But they didn't do it for nothing. We've got a bunch of injuries to our offensive line. We need to make sure that if this problem persists, that we've got enough bodies to be able to fill in. And so he's going to get some snaps with the team, get him prepared, get him up to speed, and we'll see what ends up happening here. Banks was a UDFA out of Rice in 2025. 6'7", 318. The Packers love their massive offensive linemen, so they got another one to play with here. Interestingly enough, not that it has to mean anything, but he exclusively played left tackle in the preseason. He does have some flexibility, at least in terms of what he did in college. But I don't know. I don't know if this is if we should read anything into this other than next man up as far as offensive line goes. We shall see. He played right tackle his final year at Rice. He played left guard his second to last year at Rice. He spent 4 years at Nebraska. He played some left tackle, some left guard, and some right tackle while he was there. Thanks to his 2 snaps at right guard, he's played every position except center. But the 3 that stand out, right tackle, left guard, and then for us in the preseason, he was exclusively left tackle. I would guess they're going to want to keep him at tackle, but I don't know. Either way, again, he had a very good preseason, 70 run blocking grade and an 89 pass blocking grade. He didn't play a ton, but in that time, graded out well and didn't give up a single sack, hit, or hurry. So that's going to do it for today. That's all I got. You all have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
1, 2, 3, 4. Get up, get down, get funky now. They watched our signals, studied our game. Silent count, they learned the beat. Jump right where we move the ball. Got our rhythm, ain't that neat? Damn, they got us. Timed our count, read our minds. Sneaky Brown left us behind. Browns timed our count and beat us clean. Beat us clean. Read our signals like a funky machine. Funky machine. But we're getting back to domination. Domination. Funk power gonna rock this nation. Rock this nation. Get up, get down, turn this around.
Sanders cadence,
They had it down. Knew exactly when we'd snap it. Perfect timing, perfect jump. Made our offense look like amateurs. Damn it, so smart, but we'll adapt. Now listen here, all you football freaks. Sometimes they crack your code, you see. They watch the film, they did their homework. But next time we'll mix up the beat, change it up, new rhythms. They won't see it coming. Mix the count, keep them guessing.